I'm Ken Pavlicek. I work at the help desk at Wichita State. I've been in that spot for 30 years. I started school at Wichita State in 1971, so I've got kind of an overview of that place for a long time. Don't do the math. Also, I'd like to say I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so if my accent's a little funny, at least I'm not doing the Bears, okay? So this is the this is variously called the myWSU screen. In the shop, we usually refer to it as the portal. So it's anyone's guess what people are going to call this when they call you. Okay, so I don't know what to tell you about that. A lot of times people will say, I'm having trouble logging in. You can see the problem with that. Are they trying to log into One Stop? Are they trying to log into this? And then there's everything. There's probably 20 other possibilities. They were asking about this. This is the screen that the students see. You may have some questions about registration. And that's what they do. They have these tabs across the top. The My Classes tab lets people go into the registration tools, and I lost my mouse here. There we go. And people can click on registration status. I'm not sure. In my case, that's not going to show anything because I'm not registered, but they'll ask to put in a term. That's a common problem because in the in late April, people can log in and sign up for summer classes, or enrollment has started for fall, so they have to change. And sometimes people leave it at the default, and they wonder why things aren't working. They're trying to enroll in the summer or the fall, and they've got the wrong one up here. You can go back to most of these things by just clicking on any of these things across the top here. For example, all the students have an email account. I think that's a common question. Where's my email going? Or if we send them something officially, what's happened in the past is everyone that was enrolled, any email coming from Wichita State went to this email account. I don't know how that's going to change now that we have people that are getting in that aren't admitted yet. I presume at some point all their mail will go here. So this is what our email account looks like. It's probably pretty standard, I think, to anything that you normally see. This one says try again, so let's see what happened there. And then it came back. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the myWSU screen, I hope. I'm going to log in just so you can see what that looks like. By the way, Firefox is probably the least friendly browser with our page, with many of our pages. Most of the things that we have are created in-house for Internet Explorer. That is in part because we have some products like our email and our reporting services that are Microsoft products, so we end up using Internet Explorer because it's a Microsoft product. So that's the login. This is their myWSU password that you're helping them with, or they were calling, or it's the thing that was broke yesterday. So once someone gets in, they may ask, how do I change my password? One of the ways, there's several different ways they can do it. One is if they get in, they can go to My Tools, and in this case they can do change your password. You'll notice here too, it tells people when their password's going to expire. I don't know if that's an issue, but sometimes if people are in here, you might point that out to them if their password's getting ready to expire, because very often that's a call to us. Why can't I log in? Well, your password's expired. Trying to think what else you might want to see. They can also change their secret questions. We use the secret questions to help people reset their password. I don't think you're going to have anything to do with that. One I did see that was useful, I think, was I saw this earlier today where it showed the telephone access code. If they click on Manage Your Password on it, and that's available off of quite a few screens, it's going to prompt for the myWSU ID and password. And then this is, I saw this for the first time today, your one-stop access code is, and it shows it there. I don't think you're going to ask them for that, but you may have to direct people to, because I don't think they can do any of the telephone. There's many things I think that are going to require that. I noticed too, this is new. They can if they have a question for one stop, they go here. And this seems to be this is a screen that's new to me. It's going to ask them to, because I don't have one set up. It's going to ask me to pick a secret question to make a new access code, I think. Please confirm it. One of the things that I told them in the group, these pages are customizable, and one of the problems with that is people may end up clicking on something like this and it makes it disappear. So when you're trying to direct people to something on the page, or they're looking at instructions and they say, well, I don't see that, that could happen. There's a button over here that says Content Layout at the top. If they go to that and they click Revert to Default Layout, it will bring all those things back. I think you have to close it though sometimes and get back, so we're going to find out. I think it closed me out of it, so I'll log back in.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. That was probably me, but it logged us out, but that's okay. No, again, Mozilla is throwing an error that they can hit continue on. I don't think Internet Explorer or Chrome will do that. Another page with the My Classes, besides enrollment, there's information out there about their grades. I think eventually, let's see. I thought I saw grade information here earlier. Let's see. The My Finances tab lets them get into the student account suite. I think I did hear some questions about that. This is where people are able to view their bill, pay their bill. Maybe. And this one, when it says that it takes a few minutes for it to load, they're not kidding. Depending on the situation, it can take 2 minutes to load, which people think something's broken, but if they haven't been in school in a long time and it's pulling a lot of information, it can take a while. They can make a payment. And there's also a page in here that lets them set up authorized users. I don't know if you're going to get to that, but that's a nice feature, because what it does is it lets parents, or anyone they designate for that matter, get their own ID and password, which is separate from myWSU ID and password. And the reason we do that is because with the myWSU ID that we give people, that letter 3 numbers, we're not supposed to release that to anyone. including the student. If they don't, we can tell them how to recover it, but we don't ever give it out on the phone or just send it in a general email. The nice thing about this is that it lets the student authorize another person, and they will use an email account, and I've got one set up, and these are mine. And if I were a student, the person at helpdesk@wichita.edu or ken.pavlicek@wichita.edu could log in and see the bill and pay the bill. Of course, they can be deleted over here if they change their mind. Again, this is pretty nice because if the parent doesn't remember the username, doesn't remember the password, there's automated pages that will let them recover that, and it's totally independent of myWSU and the password for that. Did anyone have any questions? I really don't know where to go with some of this.
Do you have any questions?
Can you go to maybe where they go to accept financial aid, like where?
Sure.
Yeah, like what does that look like?
Okay. You're going to go to that My Finances tab. That's that third one across the top on this one. And down here below in the first column it says Financial Aid Awards. They click on that. As you notice, this one says this page is not enabled for current user role. That's because I'm not a current student. But if I were a current student, there would be some information here telling them what awards there were and asking them to probably accept it. This is also where it would tell them if they needed more information, there was a problem. So there's that's what the financial aid award looks like. I wish I had a student sign in so I could show you more what it looks like, but My Finances and then financial awards. I did tell them earlier, not everyone's screen is going to look the same because you could have a grad student who's teaching classes but also taking classes, and they would see a screen that's slightly different even from the one that I'm showing you here because I'm a staff member, but you can see it's essentially the same. I'm not sure what would go on there. One of the things is that with passwords, sometimes if someone is if they're teaching, we ask them another question. We ask them for their state of Kansas ID number, or the same number, they also call it their Sharp ID number. I don't know if you're going to run into that, but if you hear that terminology, what that is that's a number that the state uses to identify people on their payroll. The interesting thing about that is some of the people that have that Sharp ID aren't even getting paid, but we have to put a number out there or we can't find them in the system. So that's just an extra layer of security for staff people. I'm not sure if I covered everything you wanted to see. Any other questions? I mean, this is what the portal looks like. The tabs are how they navigate. The ones that students are probably going to use the most is Home, My Classes, and My Finances. There's these hotkeys across the top that take them to email, a new one for One Stop. This is probably a good one to click here. This is for the Blackboard Learn. It takes them right to it. You'll notice they didn't have to sign in again or anything. And, I think your ELS group is the one that's handling that. Right. It's possible that somebody might say, how do I get into Blackboard? And that be as good a way as any. Again, they can go to it directly, but we usually don't. I don't think this would be a good time to be directing them there.
Right.
Maybe that's someone else's call, I guess.
So can you mention that when they log in, there might be different views?
Yes, I showed him that. That's
okay.
right. There's that has to do when I have Home, My Classes, My Finances, Library, Faculty, Staff. There's another one that comes up a lot, and I think it says teach advise. Now that's basically just like it sounds. People that are teaching classes or advising classes. I haven't thought this out well enough to know if you would be taking any calls like that from One Stop. I don't think so. Primarily, those would be used to put in grades, and I can't see where that would cross out. Well, I guess it's possible when you take over the registrar's office, someone would be calling the registrar about how do I put in a grade. I can show you something. Maybe I can. I don't even have an approximation of that Teach Advise tab at this point.
Okay.
Basically, they've moved it around a little bit, but over in this area here is where they click to put in grades. Something too that might be a little confusing is teachers can put in every grade from any quiz or homework or whatever they want into the Blackboard Learn system. But all the official grades for Wichita State are in the myWSU system, the commonly referred to as Banner. That's the back side of this. So it gets a little confusing when people are saying, I'm looking for grades. It's like, what grades are you looking for? Teachers are not required to put the final grade in on Blackboard Learn. They're not even required to give a midterm grade. So if a student has been going through this the whole semester and every time they look for a grade, they went to Blackboard Learn, it may be shocking to them that their final grade is not in there. A lot of teachers don't put it in there because they don't want to put it in twice. And I think on my classes, I think there's, I can show you. You can see here's the grade information for the students. I don't have anything, but they would select a term here. And this pending grades, what's going on is there are times when a grade has been entered, but it hasn't become official. And I believe that in most cases that might sit out there overnight, maybe 2 days. But it's a recent feature because if a teacher were to tell a student in an email, I submitted all those grades, but they couldn't see them on their transcript, they could look here. I think I heard a call about transcripts, and this was, at least this is a frequent call for us. On the My Classes tab, really pretty close to the center of the page, you have transcript. They click on that, and this is what generally comes up, all levels advising. If people have a hold, they may, I think they get this far, but somewhere now or on the next click, they would see that they cannot look at their transcript because they have a hold, and there's places to click to do that. That, as you can imagine, is upsetting to people. For the most part, if somebody owes $100 or more, they're not going to be able to do this. And those are often the people that insist on having it the most. So. I don't know that this question would come up, but the main difference between the official transcript and the unofficial transcript is the unofficial transcript is free, but you have to have your myWSU ID and password. An official transcript, I think the cheapest one is $8, but often people need both. They get the unofficial transcript for the job application or for the application to another school, and then later on it has to be followed up by an official transcript. Official transcript should contain all the very same information that you see here. Probably the biggest difference is that it goes from registrar to whoever the employer. It doesn't pass through the student's hands usually. It's sent in a sealed envelope that is tamper evident. Another thing that I find a little ironic about that is we don't need to know myWSU ID and password for an official transcript. They can go out to the site and order an official transcript, and it uses credit card information to verify who they are. And that's it goes through a clearinghouse, and all the region systems in Kansas use the same one. So an official transcript, if somebody says, I have to be able to log into myWSU to look at my transcript, and they don't have their ID, they could be forced to wait a couple of days to get that. Whereas if they really want it that badly, they can go in there and use their credit card, and it'll be in the mail the same day. Any other questions? I showed them how to go back to, how to revert back on the portal in case somebody has customized it. There's a return to menu here. I don't usually use Firefox, so I didn't know if it was going to let me go to return to it. Okay.
Uh-oh. All right, thanks, Kim.
Thank you.